The recent US and Israeli airstrikes on the nuclear and military facilities in Iran intended to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions and deter aggression may paradoxically have strengthened Iran's hardliners, rally nationalist sentiment, and make lasting peace even less likely. On June the 13th, Israel launched an unprecedented series of strikes on Iran, reportedly killing dozens of military officers, nuclear scientists, and civilians. The United States then joined with strikes on key nuclear facilities, including Fordo and Natanz, which are now being excavated to see just how badly they've been damaged. While these actions were marketed as decisive blows against Iran's nuclear program, they occurred in the context of deep mistrust and failed diplomatic efforts. And the stated goal was to degrade Iran's nuclear capacity, eliminate missile launchers, and deter future attacks on Israel. Leaders in Washington and Jerusalem insisted that these strikes were necessary to roll back Iran's growing regional threat. The US administration claimed the attacks had obliterated nuclear infrastructure, though early intelligence assessments questioned how much long-term damage was really done. Tactically, the strikes damaged known enrichment facilities and killed key scientists, but Iran's nuclear program is widely dispersed, and much of its enriched uranium reportedly moved before the attacks. So the US and Israeli celebrated success, but leaked assessments suggest the strikes may have set Iran back maybe a few months, while leaving much of its highly enriched uranium stockpile entirely intact. Here is where the strikes risk being profoundly counterproductive. Inside Iran, even prominent regime critics, such as the veteran actor Reza Kianian, rallied around the national flag. He declared on Instagram, "Iran has existed, exists still, and will endure." And this unity surprised observers. Iran is a country of 90 million people with deep internal divisions. Its theocratic rulers have faced years of angry protests over corruption, brutal crackdowns, and economic collapse. Yet when foreign bombs fell on Tehran, even secular and reformist critics set aside their grievances. Miriam, an Iranian housewife and regime critic, captured the mood. Netanyahu reminded us that we could even lose the little we have. In this sense, he inadvertently saved and served the Islamic Republic. In short, external attack did what the regime could not do. It created a temporary sense of patriotic solidarity. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, was quick to exploit this. He praised the country's extraordinary unity, framing the conflict as a national struggle rather than a regime issue. State propaganda downplayed ideological divisions, displaced religious slogans with nationalist ones, and hardliners have even gained support for expanding the ballistic missiles program and cracking down on alleged collaborators. Calls for acquiring a nuclear bomb have grown louder, despite the government's official position. Israel claimed its targets were military, but Iranian officials say 627 people were killed, including civilians in residential areas. Images of devastated apartment blocks and funerals in Tehran have inflamed anger not only inside Iran, but among critics abroad who see the strikes as disproportionate. Such scenes risk alienating not just Iranians, but also international partners who may question the ethics and effectiveness of these operations. The strikes also dealt a blow to already fragile diplomatic efforts. Iran's parliament responded by suspending cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, and negotiations to revive or replace the nuclear deal were halted. In the US, Congress debated restricting the president's war powers over Iran. Critics in Washington, including Democrats and some Republicans, warned that these strikes lacked a clear end game and might provoke escalation rather than negotiation. As Senator Tim Kaine put it, war is too big an issue to leave to the moods and whims of any one person, particularly somebody with a comb-over behind the resolute desk. If the strikes deepen Iran's sense of siege and justify its nuclear ambitions, they could actually accelerate proliferation. And history tells us that states under threat often redouble their efforts to require a deterrent. North Korea is the obvious example. By pushing Iran away from inspections and back towards clandestine enrichment, the strikes may have made the region less, not more, secure. And while the US and Israel may have scored short-term tactical victories, they risk strategic failure if these attacks strengthen Iran's hardliners, unite a divided population against foreign threats, and derail diplomacy. If change is ever to come to Iran, it will come from within, not from bombs. And any strategy that ignores this risks turning the dream of non-nuclear Middle East, a non-nuclear Middle East, into a nightmare of endless conflict and proliferation.